Hi, this is Diana from Yarnetti's Crochet, and I'm here today to go over some crochet basics specifically for left-handed crocheters. If you have questions about what kind of yarns and hooks that you might want to purchase to get started with in crochet and other supplies, I have another video about crochet basics that goes into detail with some of that information. So today specifically, we're going to be going through some beginner skills that will help beginning crocheters, left-handed or right-handed, but left-handed specifically for this video, progress through the beginning level of crochet so they can tackle lots of different projects, different patterns that they might find or tutorials they might want to complete. We're going to be going over a slip knot, holding your hook, tensioning your yarn, and counting stitches. So let's get started. So the first thing that students need to learn when you're just learning how to crochet is to make a slip knot. The way you can make a slip knot is to form a loop, bring the yarn underneath that loop, pull it through so that we can form that loop and put the hook on the loop. You can tighten the loop by pulling on the tail to make it smaller. The loop needs to be not too tight, but snuggled up, tight enough so it snuggles up onto your crochet hook. So that is called a slip knot. So the next thing that I want to show you is tensioning your yarn. So I'm going to have you hold your yarn. I'm going to have you wrap it around the back of your yarn. Use your pinky to hold it down, and then use your middle finger and thumb to hold on to that slip knot, just like that. You're going to use your pointer finger to tension your yarn. This is your tail, and this other yarn is your working yarn. It's attached to the ball of yarn that you're using to make your project. So I'm going to pull on the working yarn, not the tail. The tail's over here. I'm going to pull on the working yarn, and and by pulling on it, it tightens the yarn and creates quite a bit of tension here. I can loosen up the tension of the yarn by raising my index finger. Now I want you to watch the working yarn right here. I'm going to pull it and tighten it up. I'm going to raise my index finger, and this will cause the working yarn to move. This is the movement that you need to control the yarn as you're making your stitches. So I'm going to tighten it up again. Raise that finger and move the yarn. The next thing I want to teach you to do is to hold your hook. So we're going to insert the hook through the loop that we made with our slip knot, and there's two main ways to hold a hook. There is the pencil hold or the pencil grip, where you hold it just like a pencil, just like if you were writing, same kind of hold. And there's also the knife hold. I'm a knifer. I hold my crochet hook like a knife, so I'm going to be using that hold or that grip as I demonstrate during the lessons. So I'm going to tension my yarn. I'm going to pull this yarn and tension my yarn, and I'm going to insert my hook again. I'm going to hold it just like a knife, and the next thing we're going to learn is how to make a chain stitch. So the first thing you do is I'm going to hold the slip knot loop on my hook, just not super tight, but gently with my pointer finger, and then I'm going to do what's called a yarn over. So the yarn lays in the throat of that hook. I'm going to twist the head of that hook, and I'm going to pull that loop right through the slip knot. I just made one chain. I'm going to grip that knot or that stitch that I just made with my thumb and my pointer, and I'm going to yarn over, catch that yarn in the throat of the hook, turn the hook and pull it right through to make a chain stitch. Now I have 2 chain stitches. I'm going to try it one more time. I'm going to support that loop on the hook with my pointer, wrap the yarn, catch it in the throat. I'm going to see how I just turn the head and pull it right through. And then I can slide that loop down, move up my pointer and thumb, or my middle and thumb to hold my chain. Because if I hold it way down here and I try to continue to crochet, I'm going to have a hard time maintaining tension. So move your fingers up so that they are gripping, lightly gripping the chain that you just made with your thumb and your middle. Grab the yarn or yarn over. See how I just turn and pull it through. And that's how you make chain stitches. It's important that you practice making chain stitches that are not too tight and not too loose, because the next step when you learn to next step will be to crochet into a chain, and it needs to be loose enough so you can get your crochet hook into the chain. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to work what's called a half double crochet stitch. This is a swatch of half double crochet. I have 2 rows here. I have the first stitch marked with a stitch marker, and I have the last stitch of the previous row marked with a stitch marker. I want to show the motion of a half double crochet. So I'm going to insert my hook into the loop, and I want you to notice the stitches. If you turn the stitches and you look at the top of them, you're going to notice V's at the top of the stitches. When you insert your hook to make a half double crochet, you're going to yarn over just like you did with the chain, but I'm going to hold that yarn over on the hook with my pointer and insert my hook into the top of that stitch. When I insert it, I want to get both of the loops of that V. I'm going to yarn over, grab the yarn, pull it back through the stitch. I have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over. I'm going to pull through all 3 loops. Going to support my loop on my hook with my pointer finger, yarn over. I'm going to hold that yarn over. I'm going to hold the yarn over on the hook so it stays right there on the hook with my pointer. Insert my hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull it back through, yarn over again, 3 loops on my hook, pull through. Let's do it one more time. Anytime during a lesson, if things are going too fast or too slow, use the gear icon to speed up or slow down as needed. Now if you're crocheting too tightly or you're tensioning your yarn too tightly, when you yarn over, you're not going to be able to get the hook through the loops. So if you need to, pull those loops up a little bit. See how the yarn is moving? Pull them up a little bit before you yarn over. Grab the yarn, yarn over, and then you can pull it through all 3 loops much more easily. Let's try one more time. This is, I believe, the last stitch in the row. All 3 loops on the hook. I need to give it a little bit more space, those loops, enough space for that hook to slide through. I can do that. Yarn over, pull through all 3. So that's the motion of a half double crochet stitch. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to complete half double crochet stitches, but we're going to start with the chains that we've been practicing. So let's see here. Okay, here's a chain of, I think it's 20. I made a chain of 21 because I want my swatch to be 20 half double crochet stitches. So actually it's a chain of 22. Let me double check here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I need to make one more chain, so I have a chain of 22. Okay. Now if you notice, I have a stitch marker in this chain right here. You can count, I need to get out a needle here. You can count your chains by looking for the V's. Here's a V here. There's the first chain stitch, the second chain stitch, and the third one that I have marked with a stitch marker. This loop that goes on your hook does not count as a stitch. It's just a loop. So when you are reading directions and it says crochet into the third chain from the loop or from the hook, you're not counting this loop. That's not a stitch. So the third chain, when I do a half double crochet into the chain that we just made, I'm going to count my chains. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to remove that stitch marker because it's kind of in my way. Here. Count again. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to yarn over just like I did in my other swatch, and I'm going to insert my hook into the chain. And as I insert the hook into the chain, I want to make sure I get 2 loops of the chain on top of my hook. Then I'm going to yarn over, grab that yarn, pull it back through the chain stitch, use my pointer to kind of control those loops, yarn over, and pull through all three to make my half double crochet stitch. Now you have these two chain stitches on the side. These do not count as a stitch. They're a turning chain. In this pattern, these two chains do not count as a stitch. The first stitch is right here. That's the first stitch. You can kind of see the V. I'm going to mark that first stitch with a stitch marker so we remember where it's at. Pull some more yarn out. And then we're going to try this again. So I'm going to go to the next chain, yarn over, insert my hook into the chain. I've got the two loops, yarn over, pull through the chain, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over and pull through. This is why you need to make your chains fit the hook that you're using. They can't be too tight, or you're not going to be able to get that chain in there and you're going to get really frustrated. So let's go again. Let's yarn over, insert a hook into the next chain. I'm going to continue my half double crochets into the chain all the way down till I get to the end. If you would like to slow down or speed up the video, use the gear icon. I use the stitch markers to help me know where the first and last stitch are in the rows. And this becomes very important when your goal is to crochet in even rows. Oftentimes, beginner crocheters and some experienced crocheters will struggle with their crochet rows or their project getting wider and wider and wider as they continue to go along. Like say they're making a scarf and the scarf just keeps getting wider and wider and they can't figure out why. Or it gets skinnier and skinnier and they can't figure out why. And typically it's because they have accidentally crocheted into the turning chain instead of the last stitch or the first stitch. This last stitch in this turning chain, or in this chain, when you're crocheting into a chain, is it looks weird and it's kind of fiddly. Where I need to get my hook in is right here, so I can get 2 loops up on the top. It's a little fiddly, but another reason why you don't want to crochet chains that are super tight. Notice how I'm actually holding onto that slip knot, that original slip knot. I'm holding it and turning the chain so I can get that hook into that very last stitch. See how I pulled that? Okay. I'm gonna count to make sure. I should have 20 stitches. I did it right. Hope I did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yay, I got it. Okay. So with half double crochet, you want to start your next row. So we've done one row. You can do this two different ways. You can chain 2 and turn, or you can turn, then chain 2. When a pattern says turn your work, that's what it means. It means turning. You're literally turning it so you can start your next row. And the next row is so much easier. You can see, you can really see exactly where those stitches are. So for your next row, you're going to yarn over, go into that first stitch, yarn over, pull through 3 loops. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to mark the first stitch. That chain 2 we made does not, this chain 2 right here on the side, 1 chain, 2 chains, does not count as a stitch. It is a turning chain. The purpose of the turning chain is to lift the yarn or raise up the yarn to the level, to the height of the stitches that you're making. So all this turning chain does is to raise up that yarn for us so that we can crochet in nice even rows and have our sides be straight. This is the first stitch right here, and that's the one I'm going to mark. So when you're just beginning, you can see how if you don't mark your first stitch, you can very easily think, oh, this looks like a place to crochet into. And so you crochet into it, and then all of a sudden your work or whatever your project gets wider and wider and wider, and you can't figure out why. So if I was to continue my project or my whatever I'm working on, my rows of half double crochet, I would continue making a half double crochet stitch in every stitch in the row. And I marked my last stitch so I know exactly where I need to end. Now with time, you won't have to use stitch markers. With time and experience, you will develop what I like to call your crochetter's eye, meaning that you will be able to see your stitches and you're going to be able to feel them. And you won't need to use stitch markers as often. I like to use stitch markers, especially in big projects like blankets, because if you're off by a few stitches, sometimes it doesn't make a lot of difference in a big project, but if you're off by a stitch or two in a wearable like a scarf or a sweater, it can really make a difference. So you just, and rather than have the headache of frogging rows because you messed up, just mark your first and last stitches if you're working in rows. So there's my last, here's the last stitch. I'm going to take that stitch marker out and move it up, and then I'm going to quickly count. Okay, let's see. I hope I got this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yay, I got it. So you can see the V's at the top. So that was half double crochet into a chain. So I hope you found this helpful. If you're just getting started and learning to crochet, keep it up. Don't quit. If you're frustrated, that's okay. It probably means that you're learning and you're getting better. Be kind to yourself. Crochet isn't an easy skill. It's something that takes a lot of practice, like playing the piano or riding a bike or driving a car. Hang in there and keep up the good work.